Welcome back to Pages into the Past. So today we are going to work on a morning gown or tea wrapper, and I've decided that I'm going to use a pattern I have in my stash, make the Truly Victorian 1882 tea wrapper. This has a couple of options. You can make it with the Watteau back, you can make it without, and not shown is not putting in the darts and using just a sash wrapper. I think what I'm going to do is the Watteau back. So my mom gave me this lace, it's 10 yards, and it should be enough to go down the front of the gown, around the bottom, and then I'm thinking possibly doing just down the center back. I'll pin it before I decide, and maybe it won't go there, maybe it'll just go around the cuffs. But there's 10 yards of the lace. I've got 8.5 yards, I think, of this lovely satin. It's not grape. I'm going to call it wisteria purple. Woohoo! So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mock-up out of this $1 a yard cotton that I got and check it for fit. Done all my calculations. I'm going to add 2 inches in length. I'm adding an extra 2 just so that if I find that I need that extra couple inches, great, and if I don't, then I'm just gonna double the hem to 4 inches, and it'll end up getting covered up by the lace. This is my mock-up lining trial. See what I'm doing. I think I skipped some of the directions because I was getting very confused. Where was I getting? I was trying to do these Watteau pleats. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pin them and I'm gonna stitch them, and it says here, it says wrong sides together, sew along center back seam, ending stitching at the natural waistline. Well, what I forgot to do is this very important mark. It says here, dotted line is the sewing line for the Watteau pleat. So I unpinned everything because I was wondering how it was gonna all fit. And so, because my back was not gonna be, 14 feet wide, there's a line here and a matching line on that side, and that you're gonna sew wrong sides together before you do your pleats. So, we're gonna try that all over again. So the easiest thing that I found is, because this was already cut on the fold, this line on both sides is in the same spot. So I just pinned it, and I'm gonna stitch from here to here, which is gonna give me my center back seam, and then all of this will be pleated in box pleat. So, had I read that yesterday, it would have made my life a whole lot easier. So much easier once you follow the directions and actually understand them. So what it had me do is sew that line, that center back seam, and then these just get folded over that stitching line. So your stitching line here is your center back, and then this gets folded over the top, and there's your pleats. And then your side back will get attached here, and then your front. And so I'm gonna stitch those together real quick for a try on before I cut it out of my wisteria colored satin. And if that's the hardest part of this, it's gonna go together pretty easily for me. If you have questions, make sure that you just type it in, say, I don't get it, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can, even if it's a year from now. I will do my best to get back to you in a timely manner. All right, off to sewing. All right, guys, so I have the mock-up. I just sewed it part way down, just because the overlap, I have not put any darts in for shaping. I'm gonna do a few of those. It seems too long here. It's way off the shoulder, so I'm gonna cut those back. Here's the back. Now, I did forget to extend it by the 2 inches that I had thought I was going to. I don't think I will put the full 2-inch hem in because it might end up being too short. There's not a whole lot of front. Maybe once I get the darts in and the seam pulls forward a little bit, I'll have a little bit more flow in the front. That's a little bit better there. And you can see in here, it's nice and tight behind here. What I might end up doing is just put a belt around. I'm gonna play with that in my brain for a little while. But you can see the train is a little bit long, so that might end up getting the 4-inch or a 2-inch hem, because that seems a little too long. But overall, the initial cutout isn't too bad. It's just, this is a little bit too much off the shoulder, so it pulls weird here. So I think what I'll do is I'm gonna take that in, probably cut off 2 inches there on each side and see what that looks like. All right, woohoo, progress is being made. All right, so I went ahead and laid this out. It's the biggest piece, it's the back. And I just wanted to show you again, this line here are the lines that are the center back. So you have to sew those together in order to create the pleat. You can see how big this piece is. That back piece is quite large. So I figured since I had it laid out to put the clips on so that I could serge it, I might as well draw my lines and my pleat lines, my back line. As soon as this is done, I think I'll be ready to start putting pieces together. This is the last piece to serge. Pleats on the back of this Watteau. So here is after I've pleated it, and what I wanted to show you is how did I get that way. So we went ahead and stitched the center back seam, and then you have all of this, which is your back pleat, so that this is your center back piece. Oh, I kind of cheat a little bit, or at least that's what I call it, is cheating. And I kind of look at where my center back is supposed to be. So here's the center back, here's the seam. We know that we have all this here. So what I do is I fold this point together because this is the bottom portion and it's going to line up with this point here. So what I do is I line that up. And then today I'm using clips, so we're going to clip that. And we will fold the points together here and clip again on this side. That is your bottom pleat. Then what you have left over is this top pleat. You have a point here and a point here. These points, you fold this back, fold that point in half, and it lines up to the top of the point here. And these are going to be slightly offset from the previous point so that you get the two folded points right next to each other on the bottom point. Again, you fold this point together here, and it's going to line up just this side of the previous point so that you have this pleat here and this pleat here. And then what I do is I kind of try to keep everything lined up on the inside. And so I will adjust these inside here to line up here until I'm happy with the way that they're laying. But this is a general way that I find, or that I found, to do this, because there wasn't a whole lot of online tutorials on this particular outfit on the Watteau pleats, because you can do them with or without the Watteau back on this tea gown. And because, you know, I felt like I had to be extra, I decided to do them. And just play with it until you're happy with it. Most of this, actually, all of this top part here is going to be in a collar and in a seam. So you won't see much of it. But that is your Watteau pleat. Okay, so we have already sewn the side back pieces together. They're not pressed open yet. I'm not quite ready to do that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to add pockets to this dress. Now this dress does not come with a pocket pattern or directions on how to do that. So I have a pocket pattern that I keep under my cutting mat. So if I wanted to add pockets, I always have it available. So I went ahead and I cut out 4 pockets so that I could have 2 pockets because you need a front and a back. I sewed this at the shoulders instead of the side seams, so I'm a little bit out of order from the directions. But the reason I've done that is so that I can get my pockets lined up. What I will do is I will sew 1 pocket to the front pieces, and then when I line up my front and my back at the side seam, I will line up the second pocket so that when I stitch, it all becomes one pocket, 1 seam. And I find that's the easiest way for me to do that. And then once I get that done, I will see if I need to let one of my darts out or if I can keep them both. I'm just not quite sure. When I did my mock-up, I didn't put any darts and it seemed a little loose, but I also want to be able to make sure that some of the fabric pulls forward for walking. And I have yet to decide whether or not I want to wear a corset with this. So all the choices to make. I'll press my dart, and at that point in time, then I'll add sleeves and then hem and in buttons. Woohoo! I know when I was doing my mock-up, I wasn't sure if I was going to belt this or not. Right now I've sewn the pleats, the darts in, so we'll see how that goes. Because I'd really like to be able to wear this and be hands-free and not worry about the belt slipping loose and stepping on too much stuff. Because I'll be running around costume college wearing this Sunday morning. All right, I'm gonna stitch these pockets down. One thing that I do is when I put the pocket on, because they've been cut out as a set, I always try to keep them attached so that I don't get the wrong pocket, you know, right pocket, left pocket, because I never seem to be able to cut everything out exactly. But it works for me, so you do what works for you. Here's where I have sewn the sleeve pocket, right sides together. That's important. Then I lined up the other side. I came from the top down, lined it up so that it would line up when I sew it together. And then when you have that completed, you will stitch from the bottom up to and just past where they meet here so that it kind of creates a better dip in your pocket. And then you'll back stitch, stitch around here, come up, back stitch a little bit, and then finish your seam off so that when you open it up, you have a pocket here. It's going to be hidden inside your seam here so that nobody can see it. And that's how I add my pocket. So I'm going to finish the other side and keep on sewing. So it was kind of as I suspected was going to happen. By putting the darts in, it's just going to be too tight to wear, at least comfortably without a corset. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the front darts on each side and then try it on and see where it fits there. I can move the dart wherever I want it, because just because they're suggested in that area doesn't mean that that's where it has to go. You can move the dart wherever you want. You can make it smaller. I could make it so that it only pulls in, you know, maybe not so low, but right now I think I'm going to take the front darts out, leave the back darts in here, and then try it back on, see how much room we gain, see how much pulling. And again, if I don't like it, I can pull both darts out on both sides and do a smaller dart if I need one, or leave it loose. So it's kind of where I thought it was going to happen by putting the 2 darts in. Normally I don't put both, but I just thought I would show you the difference so that you can kind of see what changes can happen. So I'll be back shortly with the dart removed. I took out the front one, and although it closes a little better, still got too much pull right here. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take out this one and see what it looks like, because I may be able to go without any darts, and then if I lose any weight I can always add a dart back in because this is the lining, so it makes it fairly simple. And I guess if I really wanted to, I could stitch belt pieces back here to kind of tie it in a sash, but I'm going to go ahead and take these out, see what it looks like, and then that might just be enough to, you know, keep it nice and loose, because I'm going to be running around like a chicken, so might as well be a comfortable chicken. All right, well, you know what they say, 3rd time's a charm, or is it the 4th? I have had to take this sleeve out multiple times, because the directions say to line up the notch, only there's no notch on the pattern. I went through some of my other patterns because I have quite a few of Truly Victorians, and none of them had the same exact sleeve layout, or I don't even know. It was very frustrating. So put it on, sewed it down, tried it on. I was too far back, too far forward. So what I decided to do in many of her patterns, this side back seam here, the sleeve back seam is usually an inch or two up from there. And I came up probably an inch and a half. Yeah, an inch and a half. Marked, just made a fake mark so I could put the sleeve seam right there. And then I just ease fitted it in. And finally, it fits the way I like it. What was happening is if it's too far forward, it was causing weird movement. You couldn't put your arm forward. When it was too far back, it didn't feel right. And so third or fourth time I put it in, I have now moved it up, or moved that seam to, like I said, an inch and a half from this back seam, and it seems to have worked well. The other thing I did is I altered the back seam because it was still really tight. And I don't know if it's the fabric that I was using in my mock-up was too stretchy and this is not stretchy. But I just altered my back seam to give me a little bit more. And I found that I should have marked the markings on the right side of the fabric versus the inside of the fabric, the wrong side, because I couldn't really line up my marks. So I redid it and I tried it on and it fits much better. So I'm going to do the other sleeve. Now that I know where I want it, then I'll attach the collar, trim, hem, button, more trim, more trim, more trim. Fourth time's a charm, so hopefully this next sleeve will go in easy breezy. All right, so now comes the ever tedious task of pinning and then sewing the trim onto the gown. This is the trim that I'll be using. It looks very wide here, but when I have it standing up, it's almost like the perfect complement. So I think what I'll do is I'll just come down, do a curve, go all the way around the bottom, both sides, meet up in the middle on the back, put some around the sleeves, and make it look pretty. And so I think I will just keep this simple and just do it right here. You can see how it overlays here. So I think I'm just going to do the front curves. Ta-da! We're done. All right, it took me 7 days of hand sewing to do all of this lace. Each of these little petals had to be sewn down one at a time. And then of course you had to make sure that that was sewn, both sides, all the way around, all the way in the back. So 7 days of hand sewing. My fingers were killing me. I got cuffs added, and then I had to do buttonholes. Well, after ripping out the same buttonhole 6 times, I had to go buy new thread. Not my most happiest of moments. Buttonholes are done, ready to wear. The last thing I have left to do is make myself a hat. I think I'm going to keep it simple, keep my hair up, just kind of a lace topper, and I'll take you for that journey too. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me for my costuming journey for this next year for Costume College. All right, keep on sewing.